This video is Water Landscapes Part 4. I had only intended to make 3 parts, but I had sort of lost a folder of paintings and I found it. So they don't exactly fit together into a perfect theme, but they're still beautiful. And I got a little bit of a theme here. So we'll start out with this one. It's called Sunny Day on a Norwegian Fjord by August Wilhelm Leu. He's a German artist. He traveled around Norway and part of Northern Europe and made these magnificent paintings of the mountains. And I sort of had the feeling, you know, you've got this incredible combination here. When you've got the mountains, the clouds, the sun, the lake, the land, the shore. It reminds me of a cathedral. You've got the arched ceiling of the cathedral, like the arched canopy of the trees. You've got the stained glass windows with the sun coming in that mimics like the sunrise and the sunset. You got the shoreline of the pews approaching the altar, the lake, or whatever you want to call it. But it's the combination of all these things makes for something magnificently beautiful, and they all go together perfect. They're just beautiful. I mean, this is a masterpiece. Okay, now here is a bit of a sort of a clever art. This reminds one, of course, of Moritz Escher. And here you've got aqueduct and ship. So it starts out looking like an aqueduct, and then the clouds behind turn into a ship. So it's a clever illusion there. Here's another one by August Wilhelm Leu. And this one is called just a mountain lake. And it's pretty, and there's something rustic about the mountain, and all of us are kind of tired of the city and wish we could have a log cabin out in the mountains that was self-sufficient, off the grid. Okay, let me go to the next one here. And now we're moving into, you know, farm life, family life up in the mountains, in the valley. Okay, this is the Matterhorn, the great Matterhorn. There's a family with the cattle. And I love small family farms. I have no problem with it. I wish we had more of them. And they're an alternate food supply, which I think is a great thing, even though I'll always be 100% vegan unless I'm starving. It's good to have that backup food supply just in case. Okay, here's another painting, Home in the Hills by August Wilhelm Leu. And again, the nice family. Reminds one, of course, you know, Sound of Music, Edelweiss, the Alps. It's beautiful. Okay, and again, this is all Christian art. Every single painting is by Christian. There's no other culture that makes art compared to Christians, other non-Christian cultures. As far as art is concerned, they're a bunch of barbarians. Okay, Home in the Hills by August Wilhelm Leu, 1865. Again, just beautiful, magnificent. The whole combination of everything, like, you know, like a cathedral. The paintings, the tapestries, the altars, the sculpture, the stained glass windows, it all goes together and it's beautiful. And here's the view of Ischl, a beautiful farm landscape. There's the family farm, the family that farms together and prays together, stays together. And it's just wonderful. In the valley where the green grass grows. And now it's July, summertime, and the lovely maiden is, you know, working in the garden there. And now the ladies have gone to town for the flower show, and who knows what else is going on. Very nice. How about a nice walk in the park, in the forest with the family? This one's by Ivan Shishkin, the Russian artist, and again from 1869, bringing home the point that Russia had very talented writers and artists back in the 1800s. It was, you know what, the Soviets that destroyed everything because of atheism. Back when they were Christian, the Russians used to be very talented. Okay, here's a nice painting, Kindred Spirits by the great Thomas Cole, sort of the leader of the Hudson River School of Artists. And a lot of these other guys are from the Hudson River School too, like Jasper Cropsey. I'll show you some of his paintings. And of course, this, you can't see this without being reminded of, you know, John Ruskin and John Everett Millais, the great painter of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. I mean, all this stuff just goes together. Nature and religion, they totally go together. They fit hand in hand. They fit perfectly. Biophilia, man has this longing and love for this type of nature, as well as, you know, for God. It all goes together. Okay, because the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood was a very religious artistic movement, and they were the greatest artists of the 1800s. Here's Norwegian Landscape with a Waterfall by August Wilhelm Leu. And of course, you know, he's a German artist, okay? He's not a... And the Russians were separate from that, like Ivan Shishkin, and the Germans, like him, were separate, and the French were separate too, you know, with Meissonier. They're all magnificent, but it's all Christian art too. Norwegian landscape with a waterfall, and again, it's magnificent. And the water creates a motion and a center of attention, and your view just goes out from there. Morning at the Shore by Joseph Vernet, 1760. He's also the painter, French painter, who made Shipwreck. And I talked in the last video about the quotes of Jose Ortega Gasset that are magnificent. The idea of the shipwrecked person is the one who really learns, the amateur, because he wants to know, he needs to know, and he loves the subject. Okay, so a lovely morning on the shore. This painting is Timber Forest by Ivan Shishkin, and you get a sense of enthusiasm, a sense of joy. I mean, these nature landscape artists, they love doing this. These guys would travel all over the world just to find the right view for where they should paint. And you can see all the detail that goes into every decision. And anybody who's ever walked around in the forest in the springtime or the summertime, you've seen a view like this. It just resonates. Yes, this is it. Okay, in his mind's eye, he's captured. He's able to take it from his mind's eye to his hand and just put it down perfectly. And it's a work of genius, and it's magnificent, and it should be celebrated. This is real art. This is magnificent nature, God's creation. Okay. And by the way, I majored in evolution, but I totally believe that God designed all this stuff. It's so much more complicated than anyone could imagine unless you've really studied it. And once you've really studied it, what you realize is we do the best we can to make sense of it, but it's far more complicated than is widely realized. All this biology and nature. Okay, so here's a lovely painting by Jasper Cropsey. He's an American artist, part of the Hudson School of Landscape Artists, going back to Thomas Cole and the others, Albert Bierstadt, Edward Moran and whatnot. And, spectacular, Greenwood Lake with the sun. All these elements, they all combine, they all work together, and they're magnificent. So it's a synergistic effect of all the elements, the autumn leaves, the river, the hills, the sun, the clouds. Here is the first snow. Okay, winter has begun. Ivan Shishkin, back to our Russian artist. And then here is Peter Mork Munstad showing a woods in the snow. Okay, it reminds me of wintertime, shoveling the snow when I was a kid. Now I just want you to see this. I only put one of these in here because I just want you to see how disgusting and vulgar modernism is. Modernism is a communistic joke being played on Christians. And the great writer Tom Wolfe said, look at this crap. He said, all these modern buildings, they look like animal cages, and in front of them they always put a statue of a turd. It's an insult. It's a degradation of a Christian country. People should not accept this. And then here's a Rotterdam Museum. Statues of turds. That's not funny. That's an insult. That's a degradation. Imagine if, artists, from the Renaissance or from the Victorian Renaissance, the Italian Renaissance, they came to America or Europe and they saw these things in a museum. They would say, these people are lower than barbarian. They're despicable. They're evil. I mean, who would put a statue of a turd in a museum? It's an insult. It's a joke being played upon the people. It's not funny. This is unacceptable. You should speak up anytime you see something like this. This is bad. It is wrong. Okay, now here's water lilies and a Japanese bridge painted by Claude Monet in 1899. And again, that beautiful synergistic effect. It all just goes together. When things are right, it just fits together. The lilies on the lake, the bridge, the trees, the willows, it's perfect. Okay, here is Terrace and Garden by Claude Monet. And this one's from 1867. The flag blowing in the breeze, the ship's sailing, and everything is right with the world. Okay, and here's the Missus, Madame Monet, with her son, and she's got her parasol by Claude Monet in 1875. Rather lovely. Blue is such a pleasant color. It makes us happy just to see it. The sun is shining, water's blue. Okay, here's the view of Florence and the River Arno. Oh, and a great song. I'll actually put a link to it in the description below. O mio babino caro, oh daddy. And it's where the daughter is mad at her daddy because he's not thrilled about her boyfriend. And she says, Daddy, if you don't let me marry him, I'm going to throw myself into the river, into the Arno. Okay, it's a great song. And fathers know that tone of voice in a daughter. It makes them kind of melt, and she gets more She gets what she wants more often than she deserves. But anyway, spectacular painting of Florence. This is by Thomas Cole again, our artist. And again, this is what I meant. Here he is. He's traveled to Italy to paint this. And that's what they would do. To get the right painting, they'll travel all over the world. And it was pretty difficult to travel in those days. Back in 1837. Pretty risky, too. Okay, here's Venice by San Giorgio Maggiore. In San Giorgio, okay, and here is J.M.W. Turner. He's the very good English artist of the 1800s, in the early 1800s, the first half, and you know, John Ruskin loved his art and really heavily praised it, perhaps probably more than it deserved, but it's still great. And these are some of his best paintings. Okay, here's the Grand Canal of Venice by Canaletto, and he's got a lot of their great paintings of Venice. And that was sort of the main theme of this originally, was water landscapes. This is a beautiful view of Warsaw in Poland, Warsaw, from Praga, another nearby town, by Bernardo Bellotto in 1770. Here's another painting. This one is a view from the royal castle, again on Warsaw, in 1773, again by Bernardo Bellotto. And now here's a painting of a Gothic cathedral on a rock by the river, and this is by Karl Schinkel. He was a great German architect and artist of the early 1800s. And it's spectacular. And the other thing you notice, when you see these cathedrals, they remind you of castles. And there's something very strong and masculine and noble about it. And that's how Catholicism should be. Not this modern crap where these low IQ, alcoholic, pedophile homos have taken over the organized church. The organized church should be brought back under control of noble masculinity. And the heterosexual family should be the unit of society, okay? And there's a window of opportunity right here. Christians should all be speaking up about the greatness of Western civilization and Christian culture, and it deserves its place at the forefront of culture, not all this modern, pop, woke, disgusting crap. Okay, here's a lovely painting, Frederick Roy, Knight of the Holy Grail. And England has a real strong tradition of, King Arthur and chivalry. And, it was Galahad, the one who made himself worthy to find the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail was the collection of blood from the side of Christ when he was struck by the spear of Longinus, and his blood was collected into it. And the thought is that the Holy Grail could heal any wound, any illness. It's just beautiful. We're back to Jasper Cropsey, and he traveled to England to make a painting of Warwick Castle. And, the swans together swimming. And the whole thing is just spectacular. And the contrast of the castle sandstone and the autumn leaves, it's just beautiful. And the reflection and everything, and the swans, it's just beautiful. And here's another one by Jasper Cropsey. He was a great artist. This one's from 1865, Staruka Viaduct. Okay. And you got a panoramic view, all the colors of autumn, the sky, the clouds. Here's a lovely one. This one is from Vivenhoe Park in 1816 in England by John Constable, a great English artist. Okay, and again, the swans, they catch our eye, our attention. They draw us over there to the right, and do the people in the boat, and so does the flow of the water, and it's just great. And here's a painting by J.M.W. Turner that was quite famous in its day, The Fighting Temeraire, tugged to her last berth. And of course, the Navy was, the big power of England, so they have a lot of stuff around that revolves around that. Here's Starry Night Over the Rhone by Vincent van Gogh. And here's something that sort of brings us home, sort of in the 1950s. This is Americana. I got Americana written all over this. The Visit by John Falter. So, the relatives will come out to the family farm, and Mama's out the door to greet the other mama, or her daughter probably, and Papa, Grandpa there, the grandkid coming out, and it's beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed that. That's I think our last painting today.